And many states have then begun to revamp their policies, but one catch. If I don't like the new policies within my state, all I have to do is call DEA. Say, hey, I got this car, I got this money, you want to share it with me? Give them 20%, I take the 80, and we're all happy. Then I don't have to go through the state process. There's always a way around. That's another area of interest for you guys. Another area of government overreaching. So how do you, and you know, we could go on all day, but I just want to move now real quickly into how do you guys protect yourselves? And we heard some mention of that earlier. You got to know your rights. You got to know what your Fourth Amendment rights are. Okay, you gotta realize that when you're stopped, you don't have to agree to a search. Okay, some people say, well, you know, they're going to search me anyway. You've got to refuse to search and do it tactfully. Excuse me, officer. You know, nothing personal, but I don't consent to searches. I do not consent to searches.
The problem with that is that then a lot of people are getting harassed and beaten by the police, and we're dealing with a lot of issues now in New York where mothers are stepping in and then the mothers are being arrested. Now they're going to trial. You know, you're getting arrested for disorderly conduct. They're arresting everybody for disorderly conduct.
Right. So let's talk about that a little bit. And remember, I mentioned earlier about we'll just find another tool to arrest you for, and that's kind of like what you're talking about. Disorderly conduct, failure to obey a lawful order of a police officer. The list is long of all the other tools.
You say the police officer, are you acting for search? He says in court you didn't. Who do the court believe?
Well, and that's true, but just remember, many times there are people around, and I don't mean whisper it to the police officer.
Say it loud.
You say it loud, and you say it respectfully. Excuse me, officer. I mean, you know, in most of your cities, like you're saying, in New York City, you get stopped on the street, whether you're walking or whether you're in a car. Oh, people are going to watch and look. In this day and age, we're encouraging people to use what I'm being filmed with right now. You know, and to say it, excuse me, officer, I'm not resisting. You know, it's nothing against you. I just don't consent to searches. And people will hear you. And as soon as you're done with that business, there'll still be people hanging around. Introduce yourself to them and say, hey, can I get your name real quick? You know, you saw what happened. I told them I don't consent to searches. They went through my car. They pulled out my pockets. You know, they did it anyway. But you've got to protect your rights. You at least have to say it, because that's the only thing that, if you are arrested, that's the only protection that you may have in court.
Yeah, I don't say. I don't.
Yeah. Right.
You know, but I was also there when the police shot my friend in the back. But after seeing the cop say one lied under oath. So how do we fight that?
Right. So it's kind of, and this is one of the reasons, one of the many reasons we have to push to end prohibition, because a lot of what you're talking about centers around them. A lot of the reasons we get stopped centers around drug prohibition, and that's a major tool that we can take from law enforcement. And so that's kind of like why I'm here. But in the meantime, until we do that, you don't give up your constitutional rights. And like I said, you do it tactfully, you do it respectfully, and if they do what they do, they're going to do what they're going to do anyway. But at least you do your part and teach someone else, and have someone else teach them. There's a good short film out by Flex Your Rights called 10 Rules for Dealing with the Police that talks about this. And you know, I know it's a pain in the butt, but file the complaints. File the complaints. Make a record of the complaints. There are some police leaders who are now beginning to track those police officers that get continued complaints, and they're actually able to move these people off the force. We started it in Baltimore when I was down there. I hope they're still doing it. But unfortunately, the reason they were doing it though was because they were getting too many lawsuits. Their reasoning for it may not be right, but at least they're doing it. So file the complaints, make a record of it, file the lawsuits, and teach others and tell others to do it as well.